Hey guys, I can't even begin to express to you how little I want to spend my time making this video. Cannot even begin to express. I don't know what I would be doing instead, but I'm sure it would be a great deal more productive than dealing with this. But the wackaloonery has gotten to the point where I literally can't keep my mouth shut. It's just, it's just so much. Oh my god. So, of course, what we're discussing in this video is my hot take on what is going on with the YouTubes and its recent changes, some of which are mandated, some of which are voluntary, and how it affects you. I would have assumed that after the initial flurry of wild overreactions, where people were deleting their channels and moving to other service providers within hours of the information becoming publicly available, that things were going to change, that y'all would have calmed the fuck down. Yes, there will be cursing, and you would have, you know, come to your senses, and somebody would have figured that out. I've seen a lot of people be on the highway to the truth and then miss their exit. And you're sitting there going, well, I hope I turn around because, we're back here. And maybe they'll figure out when they get down the next exit. They'll pull you in and come back. So there are many things that we're going to cover very briefly in this video, and briefly because I have to go to work. So I waited until the last minute to make this so that I couldn't make it be 2 hours long because I could talk about this forever because of just how stupid people are acting about it. And that's not necessarily a reflection of this community as a whole, but just YouTube in general. Although there's been some pretty stupid shit going on in this community as well. Don't think that they're going to get off scot free. Uh, it is just something that I wanted to touch on briefly. So first of all, I'm offering what I believe to be an educated opinion on this, meaning that I've actually done the research into it beyond watching panicky clickbait YouTube videos and then making my own panicky clickbait YouTube video, regurgitating the panicky YouTube clickbait information from the panicky clickbait YouTube video that you watch. I'm going to link in the description of this video about at least 3 videos off the top of my head from a law firm in the Detroit suburbs up in Michigan. Somebody who does business law for a living and deals with internet related processes in that business law. That's what they specialize in. The videos are very succinct. They are very to the point. They are very nuanced in what exactly is going on here in terms of what is legally the deal and what is the sort of side effects that YouTube is doing to itself, as well as the fact that the FTC effectively doesn't have a leg to stand on in terms of suing people individually. We'll get to that in a second. But I want you, if you care about this and you want to have a more reasoned opinion than running around like a crazy person screaming that the sky is falling, to watch the videos all the way through. There are several more in the series. The guy's done a series of them going all the way back to when the settlement was actually signed back in September, before the fit hit the shan here last week. I would have made a video about this last week, but as you may have noticed, there's been no videos on the channel at all because I have been under the weather, and this is pretty much the first couple days where I've had a voice. And so now I'm going to use it to lecture you people. And there's also some confusion going on around just the general terms and services that I want to address real quick, and then you all can be on your happy way. But I would really sincerely suggest that if you're confused about this, if you don't understand it, if you want a more reasoned opinion than some person you've never heard of before who showed up in your Facebook feed because you watched a video with a panicky, graphically splashy video talking about how YouTube's going to delete everybody and nobody's going to ever be outside of prison again because we're all going to go to jail for COPPA violations, watch those videos. It's a very even keel, just, it's not a guy waving his arms around claiming to be a social media lawyer who claims he doesn't know anything about what's going on, which is really, really frightening when you think about it. When you hire a lawyer, you're hiring somebody to give you an interpretation of what the law or the rule or the statute says. There's no, like, hard and fast in the law, right? Because It's all open to interpretation, how the court will interpret it, especially in situations like this where it's things about the federal government. Murder, not really all that interpretive. You killed the guy or you didn't. Maybe you get off on the technicality that you were insane, or you didn't plan to kill them before you killed them, or you killed them by accident and you didn't mean to. There's degrees of killing somebody, but there's not really a whole lot of vague ambiguity in the fact that this person's dead and you're responsible. When you talk dealing about business law, corporate law, federal law, especially broad, vague federal law like the COPPA Act is, you're relying on the interpretations of their lawyers, your lawyer, should you choose to get one, as well as other lawyers' interpretations of it. But I'd be very, very scared to hire a lawyer who told you that he didn't understand anything. The last thing you want somebody in a professional basis, and this would be lawyers, doctors, and things of that nature, to ever tell you that they don't know. Even if they don't know. Like if you go to a doctor because you have some sort of medical issue and that doctor doesn't understand what the medical issue is, you would hope that that doctor would consult with other medical professionals to determine the best course of action in your case, rather than going, I don't know, Bob, I really don't see how we're saving your life here. I just don't understand what's going on. So, up front, this isn't legal advice. I'm not providing you with legal advice. Should things go differently than the way I'm about to lay them out to you, you can't come sue me because it didn't work out that way. So, it's not legal advice. Deal with it. So, first up, let's talk about the YouTube terms of service. And the panicky, oh my god, thing in there about commercially viable. First of all, in the overall change the YouTube terms of service. And for a second, we're setting aside all of the personal advertising for kids and what happens to your channel if you choose for kids and all that. We're setting all that aside. We're just talking about the actual terms of service, because the whole terms of service were rewritten in a way to make them more consumer friendly. It's known as belt and suspenders language in legal terms, because it's not all legalese. It's not a bunch of herefores, therewiths, and hereunders. It's plain speak. And they laid out new terms of service, or just basically updated the terms of service in this plain speak. And the one thing that a lot of people are seizing on is a part in the termination of accounts that says that YouTube can terminate your account if they determine that the service is not commercially viable. And a lot of people are taking that to mean that the non-monetized channels, the small things like us, or any other hobby channel, or anybody who's not monetized and making a great deal of money, are going to be mass deleted December 10th. There's going to be millions of people just thrown off of YouTube because they're not commercially viable. Well, that's a completely and totally incorrect interpretation of what that means. Commercially viable, within the way it works in these terms of service, is talking about YouTube being commercially viable. What that is saying is that if the FTC, because as you're going to find out here, YouTube is chicaneering here. They're trying to pass the buck and not doing their actual job. If the FTC really gets fed up with YouTube and decides to close it, or just regulatory laws in general, you don't know what the next president might do to YouTube. You don't know what the European Union might do to YouTube. Hell, if the state of California could pass a law saying that, no one under the age of 18 is allowed to use YouTube. And YouTube at that point goes, well, without this, without that, with being closed in general, we're not commercially viable. Google doesn't have any, you don't have a right to a YouTube account. It's a free service. So they can take it away anytime they want to. And so if something were to happen in a regulatory framework saying that YouTube has to be closed down or can't be run the way it has been, and they realize that they can't make money anymore, they'll close the service. And that's saying that they can terminate because this enterprise is not commercially viable. Meaning you can't sue YouTube if you lose money. Like, we're not monetized here. This channel's not monetized. I would say probably 99% of hobby channels in general, of small ones, are not monetized. Even the ones that are monetized aren't making enough money to buy you lunch on a daily basis, let alone be a lifestyle you can support. Now, there are some hobby channels, Flory, ISM, things like that are huge, and they are commercially viable in the sense that, to that individual creator. But it's not talking about whether or not your channel is commercially viable to YouTube. It's talking about whether or not YouTube is commercially viable as an entity. So if you're, a Shot of the Jaegers or, ESPN or whatever, and you're making, serious money off of YouTube, and YouTube closes, you can't sue YouTube and be like, hey, you cut off my source of revenue. There's a lot of YouTubers out there. Remember, we'll get into it in a second about the whole kids content thing. There's a lot of people on YouTube that this is their life. They're YouTubers. right? And it's not just the Logan Pauls and the Jenna Marbles and things like that. There's a lot of families that make content, gamers, toy reviewers. One of the biggest ways to make money on YouTube is to do toy reviews. That is one of the biggest revenue channels are things like what's called Ryan's World now, but it's called Ryan's Toys in the past. All the unboxing channels, they make more money, especially when you consider the amount of money they put into those productions, than your Logan Pauls and other major social media influencers do. There's more revenue in that because of kids' eyeballs, which is part of what this is about. But if YouTube's your living and you now live in a big house with fancy cars and a cement pond and all the rest of that stuff, and YouTube closes tomorrow, you would sue YouTube because they just fired you, basically. And that commercial viability is just stating that no, they can terminate you at any time. All of those changes to the YouTube terms of service are not changes in a concrete form. They are simply rewordings to make them more bold, more out front, more easily understandable. If anything, of all of this chicanery, YouTube should be commended in the fact that they put out there that we can do anything we want, anytime we want, to you, and there ain't shit you can do about it because, well, you don't pay for this. It's a free service. We provide it however we want. So you cannot agree with that. You can think that maybe YouTube is run by liberals and there's censorship and stuff like that. But, well, first of all, YouTube's a private company. There's no First Amendment there. You could say that maybe they don't operate in the spirit of the First Amendment, but that doesn't mean anything because that's a philosophical terminology. It's not a legal one. But this has always been the way. YouTube has always been able to disable your account if you weren't commercially viable. And another way to think of commercially viable is like, what if you live streamed a mass murder? Like, and YouTube can't take it down for whatever reason because, well, we don't delete anything. Everything stays on YouTube. Well, YouTube would get a whole lot of shit about the fact that there's a mass shooting that I can watch on YouTube, and it's devastating, and I need counseling, and I'm going to sue YouTube because I saw people die. They have to be able to delete those things because that would hurt the commercial viability of YouTube. That is not a commercially viable thing to put up there because that is a bad thing, and that is all that is about. If you sit down and you look at YouTube and the amount of channels that there are and how many of them are monetized, first of all, the vast majority of the channels on YouTube are not monetized. They just aren't. And if you look at the people that are monetized, that are like Classic Plastic had like 6,000 subscribers. I don't remember for sure if Chris had his monetization on because Chris builds a whole wide variety of things. And like everybody else, I'm subscribed to like 500 people and I can't watch every video. So if I see something about sci-fi, sorry, not watching it. And it's just the way life is. I don't have time. So I've not watched enough of his videos to remember if he was monetized or not. But even if he was, he's not making, a career out of the ad revenue he was getting off YouTube. He doesn't have enough subscribers, doesn't have enough views. People who don't understand, by the way, how YouTube pays you, it's not based on the number of subscribers you have. It's the number of views you have on a video and the watch time for that video. Basically, you don't start getting paid on a video until the video gets over 2,000 views and of a certain length of time. And then it's pennies on the dollar. You're getting like a check for 12 cents at the end of the month. I have one video on my entire channel that has a bunch of views. Most of my views are somewhere between, in a recent way, the first spate. Like all of you guys are watching this video today, tomorrow, and over the weekend. There'll be a couple hundred people, I suppose, because of the subject matter. It's not models, it's this, and everybody's worried about this. But my normal stash report, the normal videos I put up, get somewhere around 90 to 150 views within the first 7 days, and then historically they'll go on to get 300 or 400 or 500 views. The only the video I've ever made that has a significant number of views on it was the original video that we did about, like there's more than one of me, that I did about the bankruptcy of Habakkuk and what it meant to modeling. That video, the last time I looked, had over 4,000 views, which is effectively like 4 times as many views as I normally get, or on a normal video. So excuse me, I should say it would be 10 times as many views as I get on a normal video. 400 versus 4,000. I could not monetize that video because I don't qualify for monetization in the first place. But even if I had, that video would have paid me probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2. If you want to make money on YouTube, you have to have millions, or at least hundreds of thousands of views. Millions is better. That's why the kids' channels were so popular, because kids will watch the same damn thing over and over and over and over again. Ask me how I know. So that covers the YouTube terms of service with that whole commercially viable thing. Don't panic. It has nothing to do with you. It's not about you. It's not about your small channel. It's not about your non-monetized channel. It's just about whether or not YouTube is commercially viable, and the fact that if they decide one day they're not, they can kill the whole service and there ain't jack shit you can do about it. Nothing about those terms of service is any different than the way they were written before. They're just written in a way that's easier for you to understand, and apparently understanding things makes people panic. So let's move on to the other gigantic 500,000-pound elephant in the room that's really just a teeny little thing, and it's kind of annoying, and it doesn't affect most people. Not nearly as much as they like to think it would. And that, of course, is the settlement with YouTube and the FTC about COPPA. What it actually means, what it actually relates to, does it affect you as a hobbyist? You can skip to the part at the end here because it doesn't, and all that sort of thing. So there are two things to unpack with this. It is YouTube and their responsibility in this mess, the FTC and their responsibility in this mess, and then the things that YouTube has done to basically try to sidestep the mess and blame you for it. COPPA, as it stands, is all about the collection of personally identifiable information from super minors, people under the age of 13 years old. Because in order to have a YouTube account or a Google account or Facebook or Instagram or anything, because COPPA was passed, remember, back in 1998, YouTube didn't even exist when COPPA was passed, which is why COPPA is a poor fit for YouTube in general, but that's a separate argument for another day. But the reason why you have to be 13 to sign up for those things is because of COPPA, because you have to be 13 in order to have what are known as permanent identifiers attached to you via cookies. Everybody knows what cookies are. They're the things that remember your passwords, or if they don't remember your password, they remember your login, and all you have to do is type in a password like a bank account. If you have a YouTube account, well, you, in the terms of service of YouTube, in that agree to their privacy policy, which states we're going to track you around and be creepy and put and service you with ads specific to your interests, versus contextual ads, which are like Lowe's is the official lumber store of the NFL. So if you watch a video about NFL, more than likely you're going to get served that Lowe's commercial about flooring, or right now, or it might be Home Depot. I can't remember who the hell the official hardware store of the NFL is, but there's another Home Depot commercial I see floating around a lot right now. It's about Christmas and Ryobi tools and building a nifty closet for your wife. That gets served up as a contextual advertisement. If you are seen as basic, your basic computer data says that you're a male between 18 and 40, you're going to see a store. You're going to see a commercial for a hardware store. It doesn't have anything to do with what you clicked on. Doesn't have anything to do with where you've been, what you've looked at. It's just a contextual advertisement. You're looking at an NFL highlight on YouTube. You're going to get served the official beer, the official hardware store, the official car, the official whatever, because those things are contextually attached to one another. Personalized ads, if you have a trouble wrapping your mind around what those are, that's when you like look on eBay at a model kit, and then you go on Facebook, and 5 scrolls into the Facebook feed, there's an ad from eBay saying, want to take another look? And it's the thing you just looked at. That's a personalized ad. So the problem was that, of course, these 20-some-odd child advocacy groups have figured out that, well, kids lie and they create accounts. And now how they could contextualize this on a concrete basis is something that a lot of people seem to have a problem with. Well, if you have a young kid, ask them if they've taken a survey recently at school. I remember doing these when I was a kid. It was surveys, anonymous surveys, that they would put out to entire school districts about whether or not you smoked, whether or not you had sex, whether or not you drank, whether or not you, and now of course it'd be like, do you use YouTube? What's your primary source of entertainment? And these things like that. And they get these surveys back, and are kids really technically honest on them? I don't know. I always was, because I didn't do any of those things really. I didn't drink and didn't smoke in high school, and we're not going to sit here and talk about my love life, but it's sufficient now, believe me, I have children. But at any rate, that's what they're basing these things on. They're taking surveys of small children, and small children are saying, yeah, I get like almost all of my entertainment value from watching YouTube. And you're like, well, wait a minute, do you use YouTube Kids? And they're like, nah, I use YouTube General. I have an account on there. Well, you're not allowed to have one. But in order to, and this is maybe a little bit of a bad parenting, if you will, YouTube can't come after a 12-year-old. They have to go after their parents. So, nothing gets done about it. And the entire part of COPPA, as it relates to YouTube, is the fact that YouTube did not filter out those kids and not track their information. The entire statute, the entire rule, yes, there's ambiguity in what will qualify as kids' content, but the actual requirements of that data collection, which is the problem here, is very simple. You can't do it if you're going to use it without parental permission. It's actually not illegal to collect the information from a child who's under the age of 13. It's not. It's how you store that information, how you use that information, and then using it to advertise directly to those children without parental consent that is the problem. So how does this, wait a minute, what does this have to do with us then? Ha! Good question. Because if you read the statutes of the FTC rule and the actual law as it was passed in 1998, the only action that can be taken by the FTC is against operators of a commercial website or people using a commercial website as a third-party data collection service on their behalf. See, YouTube got in a whole shit ton of problems because they weren't doing the right thing. Then the FTC went, oh, and the YouTube went, and paid them a bunch of money. And then YouTube went, you know what we're going to do here? We're going to sidestep this giant mess because we don't feel like dealing with it, and we're going to put it on you folks to deal with. Well, unfortunately, you can't put it on my folks to deal with because I don't commercially operate a website. I don't have access to YouTube. In order to be, I run a website, okay? And in real life, this isn't a scenario, this is real life. I run a website. I don't run ads on it. It's actually a .org website. It makes no profit. It'll never make a profit. I set it up that way on purpose to make it, in my mind, more legitimate of a thing than some other options for the same content out there. I can never be in violation of COPPA with my website, even though I am the one that is running the website. I am operating it because I don't collect personal identification of anybody, because we don't run ads, because there's no tracking done. And if there's no tracking done, the content is irrelevant. That is something else that we'll talk about here in a second. It has nothing to do with your content, by the way. So if I'm a commercial operator of YouTube, then first of all, I want my cut of the profits, because YouTube is making a shit ton of money and I ain't seeing a penny of it. If I'm operating YouTube, then I want my cut of the profits. But you don't operate YouTube. You're in what is known as an adhesive contract with YouTube, meaning you click a terms of service and then those terms and services adhere to you as you use the service. We're not in control of YouTube. We don't have a power structure where we tell YouTube what to do. YouTube is trying to get around their legal obligations to not collect data of children by making you choose whether or not your content is for children underneath that little couple of words of the clause that they're trying to wedge a point under that says you're using YouTube as a third-party collection of that data. I didn't authorize YouTube to collect that data. First of all, if you're not monetized, this doesn't apply to you. Great thing about all of this, if you're not monetized, you don't run ads. If you don't run ads, you don't collect information, and therefore, none of us have anything to worry about in the first place. As I've told several people, this is much ado about nothing. This really affects a lot of people who make child content really, really badly, and we'll get into that towards the end because it doesn't affect the main gist of this. But as it stands, me, you, and 99% of the people out there who don't monetize their channels are not affected by this. It doesn't matter if we selected not for kids and market directly to kids, or select the other option and then do adult content. It doesn't matter because we don't track these things. We, as channels, are not involved in data collection because we're not monetized to do it in the first place. And that is the base bottom line of this. Everybody who's in a big fucking panic tizzy, blaming parents, blaming the government, throwing a giant fit about liberals, and screaming about how you can't sue me and it's not my fault. Yeah, well, they can't, because it isn't. And that is a legitimate thing, although probably not the way the person intended it. We don't commercially operate YouTube. Therefore, we are not in control of what data YouTube gets. We also did not contract YouTube to collect data on our behalves. In general, though, beyond that, even if you were monetized, you did not contract YouTube to collect data from children. That wasn't part of the agreement. Nothing you signed ever said, oh yeah, P.S. I want to be creepy about kids' data and market ads to them intentionally. It just didn't. The problem is that YouTube tracks you even when you're not logged in. Like, one of the biggest ways to solve this entire thing is make everybody log into YouTube to watch, because if you have to log into YouTube, you're saying that you're 13 years or older. Believe me, before this is all said and done with, I believe YouTube will get age-gated, and either you have to sign in to watch anything, Or it'll be like going to like a Patron or a cigarette website or a violent video game website where you have to put it. The splash page will load, and before you can see any content, it'll ask you what your birthday is. And it's very, very easy to do that. But the fact is, YouTube isn't doing that. They're trying to blame you for it instead, which is a shitty thing to do. You should, at the end of this video, if you take nothing away from this, not be pissed off at the government, not be pissed off at my shitty parenting styles, but be very, 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 very pissed off at the fact that YouTube is completely and totally trying to sidestep this after they got bitch slapped for it in the first place and are trying to pass the buck on to you. Take that buck and shove it straight back up their ass is my take on this, on the baseline. So, again, monetized channels we have nothing to worry about because we don't monetize. But if you did monetize, the thing about that data collection is that they're collecting data on your behalf for your benefit. The argument there is, well, you advertise, so that's your benefit. Well, first of all, you don't get all the ad revenue. If you think you're even getting a majority of the ad revenue, you're out of your fucking mind, and I got a bridge in Arizona to sell you. But you don't ever get the data. You tangibly are not emailed data about anybody on a weekly basis. You're tangibly emailed monthly. They don't say, okay, you know, Joe, here's the kids we creepily searched out for you. Do you want to sell them some Hasbro? Oh, yes, I would, actually. No, that doesn't actually happen. YouTube is responsible for not collecting this data or getting parental consent to collect the data. One of the videos I'm going to link to you is a very infuriating 20-minute video going on exactly how easy it would be for YouTube to enact the changes they need to enact without doing all the other crap to be COPPA compliant. It's infuriating how little YouTube is willing to do to fix this problem of their own making. Because getting parental consent is actually pretty easy when it comes right down to it. And they don't care. YouTube doesn't care. Google doesn't care. Alphabet doesn't care. They're going to just try to pass the buck down to you. So, could the FTC sue you for the $42,530 if they decide that your content is marked as not for kids, you monetize, and they determine it is for kids? Well, yes, the FTC is the government. They can sue you for any time, for any reason, much like YouTube. It can sue you at any time for any reason. The FTC basically has, you know, an army of lawyers and an infinite amount of tax dollars to work with. But in order to collect that fine, they can't just send you like a piece of mail and you get a piece of mail from the FTC. Or I saw some people say they're going to email you, and the FTC can't email you a bill. They can't send you a certified letter that says, "Dear Dustin at Hinterland Customs, you owe us $42,000 because this video was determined to be aimed at children when you marked it as not." Picking on a friend there. Because they have to sue you. It's a civil penalty. They have to get it by judgment in a court, which means they have to send a lawyer to the closest federal district court near your house. For me, it would be Pittsburgh. For Dustin, you know, that would be Idaho. I'm pretty sure other than BLM and maybe some U.S. Marshal and FBI SWAT teams, they don't even know where Idaho is, let alone how to get there. And then they have to sue you for it, which that isn't just a presumption. They can't just, you don't just show up and go like, "Hi, Your Honor, we won $42,000 out of that guy." And he's like, "Oh, really? Sounds good to me, kunk." No, they'd have to prove that you did this. They're going to count on you caving and not spending time to get a lawyer or defending yourself, which is probably not the greatest idea in terms of fighting the government, but you know what I mean. You can be your own lawyer if you wanted to be. On these, basically the fact is the FTC has no standing in any of this. There is nothing in the regulatory framework about COPPA or the 2013 Rules Amendment or this settlement that YouTube signed on to that has anything to do with you. You didn't sign the agreement between the FTC and YouTube. YouTube signed an agreement with the FTC. So therefore, you didn't agree to anything. Now they changed the terms of service for this whole you have to mark your video thing, and they said it's a legal requirement. But if you actually read the settlement, there's nothing in the settlement about that. That's not a legal requirement of the settlement. That's not a legal requirement of COPPA, because COPPA doesn't say anything about content at all. COPPA is all and only about getting information, personally identifying information about super minors, and then how you use that information, and whether or not you have parental consent to use it in the first place. That's it. That's all the law says. Yes, it's very ambiguous as to what child content could be, but we as creators, be it $10 million a year creators or the guy with 755 subscribers and a big collection of BMWs and a really cool Citroen kit, we don't collect that data. We didn't agree to collect that data. We don't have anything to do with that data. We don't get that data. We receive no benefit from that data. That data is all used by YouTube to sell ads and be shitty about it. And you really ought to be pissed off about the fact they're trying to blame you for it. Not the government. The government is enforcing a set of rules that in total is about this big in print. It's very, very small, very compact law. And it's very small, very compact as to who it goes to, who can be used against, what it can be used against them for, and how it can be used against them. And none of it is in any way that I see it being talked about online, where the FTC is going to come with a SWAT team, kick your door in, fine you $40 million, and throw you in jail for it. By the way, if the FTC were to fine you for some god-awfully unknown reason, and you didn't fight it because you're a pussy and you caved into the government, and you decided that getting a settlement and losing your channel is a far better thing than actually hiring a lawyer, and that's what, by the way, what the FTC would be counting on if they were to do that, you know, they can't throw you in jail for not paying. They would garnish your wages, just like they would if you owe taxes. If they throw you in federal prison, you can't pay them. We don't have debtor prisons in this country anymore. So throwing you in prison for not paying something, unless you maliciously didn't pay it, like you had $100 million they fined you for, and you refused to pay it, like people who evade taxes that are wealthy, you wouldn't go to jail because there's literally no way to garnish your wages if you don't have a job. They also can't seize your property because if you don't have any place to live, then you wouldn't go to work and you'd just probably kill yourself, first of all. But beyond that, they can't come in like, oh, if you can't pay the fine, we're taking your car. Well, how do I get to work for my job for the wages that you're garnishing? It's the same thing with back taxes. They can put a lien against you, but they really can't take the house that you're in because where are you going to live? They can't garnish your wages beyond a certain percentage of your disposable income because the government can't put you in a position where you can't pay your bills. The general gist here is that a lot of people are screaming, yelling, and doing very, very clickbaity videos about this when it really doesn't affect you, more than likely. And even if it did, the chances of you actually being sued by the FTC and or booted off of YouTube in general are probably pretty slim to none when it really comes down to it because of the way this is written, the way it's supposed to be enforced. Yes, there was some bouffanted hairdo jackass with a FTC banner that was so new, it was still creased in the background, go watch the video, that said they were going to shoot YouTube creators like fish in a barrel. Well, yeah, I could also say that if you speed through my town, I'm going to take your driver's license. I can say whatever I want to, without being libelous or lying in general. You ever see those signs when you come into a construction zone, say speeding through this construction zone will get you a penalty of up to $2,500, up to 6 months in prison, and you may lose your license? Yeah, all those things could happen to you if you were really, really, really shitty about it in the process. But if you did 55 and a 45, you're gonna get pulled over, you're gonna get yelled at by the cop and given a $300 ticket, maybe a couple points on your license. Your insurance rates might go up, but you're not actually going to jail. You're not actually getting fined $2,500. And that's the thing. They may fine you for up to $42,000. That doesn't mean they have to do it, and it doesn't mean they have to do it for the whole amount. There's also no legal precedent for the FTC suing an individual underneath COPPA. It's never been done before. So if you were going to be sued by the FTC, they'd be trying to establish legal precedents using you as an example. And trust me, they're not using you watching this video as a car model as an example because there's no splash in it. You're just some schmuck in a basement somewhere with 500 subs. What are they going to do? Perp walk you into district court and be all like, well, we're taking out this Jim Duff character in Pittsburgh because he's doing modeling videos, and we determined that even though this model box right here says keep out of reach of children under 14 years of age, that his content's directed at super minors, and even though he doesn't collect identifying information because he's not monetized, we're going to fine him anyway. That the district judge would laugh the filing out of court, let alone the first time I showed up. Take a deep breath. Watch some actual real-life videos. There's several I linked to you that I like about this before you lose your shit. Because I've seen a lot of people pull a ludicrous about this. They are acting a fool. Whether or not you want to leave YouTube for another reason, and that's why you went to Vimeo, or you created a Vimeo as a backup in case this really is as bad as everyone says it is, I don't begrudge you. The people who panicked and left the first day within the first 2 hours and created this firestorm in the first place, I don't have anything to toast you with, but I as Ari said, goodbye, and I'm not following you over there. Sorry, I got YouTube, and that's my platform. And if you make videos on Vimeo, I hope more than 10 people watch it, because I'm not gonna come over. I don't care, especially if you left in a big huff, because clearly you were gonna leave YouTube anyway, and this was just your out. So let's talk about those things about personal ads and the changes with the whole, like, if you're a kid channel and what it does. There has always, by the way, if you're monetized, and in order to be monetized at this point on YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 2,500 hours of watch time. Not 2,500 hours of produced content, but 2,500 hours of watched content. If you sat down and watched all my content right now, straight, on Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, it would take you basically a month. But nobody's actually watched that much, because I have like 1,400 hours of watch content, and I'm like 245 subs short of even being able to enable monetization. But if you are able to, you are capable of enabling monetization, there is a box about 4 menus deep in the monetization options that says disable personalized ads. Or actually, it says, I believe it says disable behavioral based ads, which is the same thing. So you've always been able to turn that off if you didn't like it, and get paid the way less revenue based on the contextual ads that would run on your channel instead. So that's not even a change. This whole switch is YouTube's idea. It's not, again, nothing about that is in the rules, the statute, or the agreement. There's nothing in the rules, statute, or agreement that says you can't make content directed at kids. There's nothing in the rules, statute, or agreement that says that you can't collect the data from the kids without parental consent or use it, right? So you can collect it, you just can't use it without parental consent. So why wait, I'm not responsible for this. What? No, I'm not getting excited about this. This is silly. But why are they doing all of these things if you choose to have your channel be for kids? Because there was a whole bunch of crap that went on, some of it you may have actually heard about, that involved kids' channels, and this draconian set of regulations that YouTube came up with is their way out of dealing with it face to face. They're using the biggest, broadest, flattest, heaviest stick they could find to try to whack-a-mole a problem. Right? There's nothing saying there has to be a switch, but they put that switch in there. You're legally obligated to choose your videos. No, actually, you're not legally obligated to choose your videos. There's nothing in the law that says you have to. Now, there's a contractual obligation, being that you agree to use YouTube after December 10th. As part of using YouTube, you have to use that switch. That exists, but there's nothing in federal law, statute, rule, or in this agreement that says that that switch has to exist or that you have to use it. YouTube could throw you off the channel if you don't use it. If you just like, I refuse to set my channel. They could throw you off because you're violating the terms of service at that point. But there's no legal basis. The FBI can't crash your door in because you didn't choose the button, and or you choose the button wrong, because that button doesn't legally have to be there. The rest of the stuff they're doing to the kids, personalized ads, yes, that's the problem. You can't have those, or without parental consent. Which is, again, there's a video about that I'm going to link to. You can figure that part out for yourself, of how easy that would really be for YouTube to do if they wanted to. But the loss of chat, the loss of comment sections, the loss of notifications, the loss of the ability to share those videos, to save them in a playlist for later, to the fact that those channels will lose their community tabs, the fact that those channels will basically be demonetized because they're only going to have contextual ads, but they be demonetized in the sense that they will not be in search, they will not be listed, they will not show up as suggested or recommended. They're effectively blacklisting your channel if you choose that thing. And you're like, the FTC, fuck those guys. The FTC, all that list of shit, nothing to do with this. There's absolutely nothing in any rule, law, statute, or agreement that says that you have to delete the comment section from kids' channels. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Why are they doing that then? Because there's a whole bunch of pedophiles running around on YouTube saying, hey, that girl's got a hot ass, talking about 10-year-olds at a dance recital, and YouTube refused to do anything about that. Go Google like pedophiles in comment sections on YouTube videos, and you're gonna see article after article after article after article about creepy people doing creepy shit in the comment sections with videos with especially young girls, but also young boys, because hey, it's 2019. and YouTube refusing to delete those accounts, your refusal to delete the the comments, or basically YouTube's refusal to do anything of any kind of productive value in dealing with this. So when they got this agreement, they were like, "Hey, you know what else we can do? We can take this gigantic big flat stick and beat the comment section problem because it won't exist anymore. And since we don't want the pedophiles to be able to find this content, we're gonna delist it. We're gonna demonetize it, and we're gonna turn off the notifications for it." Are you still pissed off at the FTC? Because that's not the person you need to be pissed off about here. Not the person. They're not doing any of that. Absolutely none of that has anything to do with the FTC, or the government, or censorship, or liberals, or the 2020 Democratic candidate slate. All YouTube. And that is why those channel creators, the people who do that for a living, are so pissed off. It isn't about the fact that they're really worried they're going to get fined $42,530. It is the fact that YouTube has basically unemployed them. Like that. For no reason. Because if you make content for kids, you really do. You're not a Lego collector, you're not a figure customizer, you're not a train guy, you're not a model car guy, you're model truck guy, you're IPMS guy, whatever the case may be. But you legitimately make content for kids. Like you're one of those daily vlog channels where your kids are in them. People say that's exploiting your children. Yeah, you could argue that whatever way you want to. But a big thing about those channels is the interaction. Right? Having the community page, having merchandise, having the ability for kids to comment about their video. If you watch kids' channels, I watch them a lot for, sometimes, because every now and then we'll put YouTube on our TV as an app, and then, after a while we get tired of watching, the kids watching nothing but YouTube, so we'll take it back off again. A lot of those contents will have sections where they'll be doing something, some challenge, just a couple of guys that do pancake challenges, trying to use the drawable pancake batter to draw things, and before they flip the pancakes over, they're like, "Who do you think's pancake's gonna look most like Batman? Comment down in the comment section below." Because it's all that fan interaction, right? That's all what drives those channels, getting those kids hooked on those personalities. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's not bad parenting. They're actually wholesome channels that are fun for kids. But now the comment section doesn't exist anymore, so what do you do? What do you write us an email? Call us on this 1-800 number. It's a horribly catastrophic to those channels. These draconian measures that YouTube have put in, and hopefully they will come to their senses prior to whenever they decide to put this in. Because right now the FTC comment period on how COPPA should be applied to child content providers is open for comment. It's going to close basically the day before the YouTube Terms of Service is supposed to go into effect. Notice the YouTube Terms of Service didn't go into effect on December 1st. They go into effect December 10th, the day after the comment section closes, and the day of, we would presume, the FTC will issue some sort of comment on how they plan to actually enforce this going forwards. I really wasn't, I wasn't going to make this video. I really didn't care anymore. I knew how it didn't affect me, and I've talked to a number of friends and linked them to the things and shown them how it doesn't affect them either. But last night, or yesterday afternoon, I guess it would have been, Andy's mediocre hobby headquarter had to put up a video. And I don't have anything against Andy personally. I don't watch his content. It doesn't amuse me in the first place. I am annoyed by the fact that, well, let's put it to you this way. Somebody called Andy a mediocre model one day, and he seized upon that and turned it into a merchandise line, which is brilliant, and I actually appreciate the brilliance of taking an insult and making money out of it. But it is the ongoing embracing of that bothers me, because I don't think you should be mediocre at anything, let alone embrace it proudly. I am proudly half-assing these models. Nobody... what? This is a whole subgenre I could do a 5-hour video on, about why people act the way they do about the hobby, and not taking it seriously. And that's not a rivet counting photo etch everything, but just in general, like, what other hobby do you have that you don't try to get better at? Like, why are you embracing mediocrity like that? Would you want your wife to come up to you and go, "Man, you're a mediocre husband"? And it's not even about your bedroom. It's just like, you barely provide for the family. You don't interact with the kids. You ignore me. The house is falling apart. I mean, you do just enough, but really, you're just mediocre. Why would you want that to be the thing you strive for? And so I don't watch Andy or his shtick because of that, because I refuse to support somebody whose whole gag is like, yeah, I'm half-assing it. So anyway, he put out a video yesterday. There was something to the effect of the end of plastic bottling on YouTube, the FTC and COPPA, it's real, or whatever the hell it was. It's serious. And then in the video, 5 seconds into it, after it's, hey guys, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters, he proceeds to say, the title of this video isn't clickbaity. Okay. So let me just say something here. If anyone ever prefaces a statement by saying the statement isn't what it is, they're lying. And if you're going, oh, you called Andy a liar. No, hear me out. If somebody comes up to you and goes, I don't want to be racist, but, and then says something, that something is the most racist thing that they can come up with. And they're trying to guise it under this, well, you know, I don't not like black people, but can I tell you, you know, Mexicans are pretty cool people, but, you know, I don't want to be racist. Yeah, you do. You're just trying to be racist and hide it. So by saying, oh, this title's not clickbaity, yes it is, because this guys, I cannot stress to you, watch the videos in the description, watch them, you know, don't listen to me, just form your own opinion on actual lawyers talking about this rather than people who are making videos to make money. And I'm not saying Andy makes money, but I just mean in general, the Daryl Ooze of the world. Who the fuck is Daryl Ooze? I'd never heard of that motherfucker a single day in my entire life until all of a sudden he was the rationalization behind the first wave of nincompoops who went flying off of YouTube in this community saying, "Yo, watch this video, he knows everything." He didn't know anything. I learned absolutely nothing in that video I didn't already know. And I barely knew anything because I really hadn't even looked into it, because to me it didn't seem like that big of a problem because I can read. But at any rate, consider your source content when you're forming your opinion about what you should do, if you should do anything. Watchful waiting is basically the only thing I can suggest to you beyond actually, like I said, watching some real videos about the real subject matter discussed in a real calm and collected, succinct manner, because these don't go, the actual FTC sweep of Nazis doesn't start until January 1st anyway, and more than likely it'll be delayed because of the rulemaking that's going to have to be done after this comment period. And guess what's coming up after the comment period in quite literally in slightly more than 10 days? Christmas! You think any of them bureaucrats are hanging out, or you think they saved 3 weeks of vacation time so they can leave the office the Friday before Christmas and not come back until after the 2nd? Government people, they don't do anything in a fast and efficient manner. So I hope this calmed you down a little bit, or got your anger and ire placed to the right place, because the government isn't out to get you, and neither are bad parents. Watch the videos. Form your own opinion. Be educated. Consider your source material. If people are putting up splashy graphics telling you that they're going to delete 23 million users on December the 10th, and they are a channel that does a bunch of videos that look just like that, Daryl would be that person who everything is splashy graphics and, oh my god, YouTube this, and oh my god, YouTube that. He's doing it, so you click on it, so you watch it, so he makes money. It's just that simple. It's always about the money. It's always about the money. Anyway, guys, that wraps this one up, and we'll see you guys on the other side.